want to speak a little bit about Tupac Shakur and what I saw um, with his rise to legendary status, the way that it's all transpired or played out. When I was a kid, um, I saw Juice, but I remember, the Poetic Justice and Above the Rim era very well. Because I remember I was going out and checking out movies around that time. There was a lot of good movies out around that time. John Singleton and all that kind of stuff was happening. And, yeah, so I had Above the Rim on, it wasn't V8, was it VHS? Maybe, back then we had movie stores, so I would rent a movie, and I must have rented Above the Rim because I remember watching it at my house, and I don't think it was on cable television yet or HBO or anything. So I remember having the VHS, and I remember like watching it, and seeing his acting skills. And when I go back now and watch it, I'm like you don't know what you got till it's gone, and he's one of them classic examples of that. When you go back and watch it, you see how great of an actor he was, but also just how deep of a being he was. Like, you can just look at him and he just lights up the whole room. And that was before any of the bullshit happened out in New York with him. So like he was on his game, man. And seeing him do the coaching thing in that movie was interesting too. I don't know if you know. I guess Pac was a mentor to a lot of people. Like, he was a mentor to the Outlaws. Like, they looked up to him as almost like a father figure, where it's like, they would have to. He would set rules down for him. That's what I'm trying to say. He would set rules down for him. So, uh, I didn't know him as much as a rapper at that time. Like, anything from '94 and earlier, I really didn't know much of his raps. I might have known Dear Mama. I might have seen that. Um, but then after he did his time in jail and he came out, I caught California Love and How Do You Want It. And How Do You Want It was my jam. That was the song that got me. I used to go to them dances in sixth grade, and they would spin How Do You Want It, and yeah, that was the shit, dude. That was the fucking jam. And then uh, 96 comes around, and this is what I remember about the year 1996. I had one of the greatest summers I had the best summer of my life in 96. And we were on top of the world, and Pac was on top of the world. So Pac had lifted things up so strong in pop culture, where it was like the most vibrant summer. And sometimes things just happen that way, as in like uh, it might have been like a good weather summer or something, or a good you know what is that shit called? Like a not a solstice, but like there was something going on in that summer that was so special. And you know, uh, I don't remember a whole lot of songs that he was dropping at that time because he was so ahead of his time with all the stuff that he was making. We only really knew the singles that were coming out at that time. I didn't have the All Eyes on Me album. I did hear that one track though. We were driving. Our friend's brother was driving us to a dance, and I remember hearing "It's All About You." You know what I mean? Every other city we go with Nate Dogg, because I was a Dog Pound guy from way back. And that's another thing that I want to talk about too. This is just what I remember about those times. 94, Snoop Dogg was the biggest rapper in the world, okay? And the Dog Pound was getting on because of him, and Nate Dogg had a hit in 94 with Warren G. So, like, Dog Pound Crew was, like, at the top of the music stuff. And, I think Snoop hit in '93, but it was like a '93 to '94 run, and you know, when Snoop had his murder case, that's when I stopped listening to Snoop because something changed about his music after that. Then uh, Tupac unfortunately gets shot, and then everybody thought he was gonna pull through. It was crazy. The media was downplaying it, saying that it was like only like he was supposed to survive or whatever. and then you heard like right before he died, like you heard like, oh well, this is actually more serious. Like this is real critical. He's in critical condition, you know. And then when he passed, I'll never forget. I knew exactly. I remember exactly where I was. I was in Westgate Park, walking home with my homie Greg, and we heard the news, and it was real sad. And I remember how it all happened after too. It was real sad. I mean, everybody was real sad about it. Like it was tragic. And then, what happened was is Tupac's music just kept coming out. Like, what songs was it? I remember Hail Mary, which was on a different album than that. So it was crazy how it all happened and unfolded. To Live and Die in L.A. What else came out around that time? Because he was all over the radio. He blew up like Elvis. He became overnight in his transition a legend. I'm trying to remember what other songs. Oh, I Ain't Mad at You. That came out too, and that video was on TV, which was crazy because it was like he predicted his own death in that video. Like he knew it was getting crazy, so he put he as an artist showed his artistry and acting skills in the video by portraying like he was in heaven. It's just crazy, man. So crazy. Yeah, so that's what I remember about Pac's rise to fame or to legendary status, and yeah, and then the movies came out too. More movies came out, like that movie with Belushi, with Jim Belushi or whatever his name is, and he just had a couple independent releases or whatever they were. They weren't like gigantic blockbuster hits, but they became cult classics because he was no longer here, and he was pretty good in them movies, man. Playing different roles too than what he normally would play. His acting range was shown. Then years go by, and you start hearing all these rumors and all this stuff about this or that, and then you start seeing other people pushing hard with his music. Like, really, Tupac's fans did more for his legacy than anybody, than anything, than any other artist I've ever seen, because his fans became the reason why his run kept going. So yeah, and you would see that time after time. Like you would see that from over here, or you would see that over here. You would see that over here. It's just so special, man, to see. It's so cool. And I know that like it gets a lot. It gets like kind of not a bad rep, but a strange. Like not everybody gets when people do that. And I was like that for a very long time. Like, yo, why do these people just like big up and Pac like crazy, like all these years later and stuff? But I found out firsthand what that was all about years later, because it happened to me. Pac is still doing his work. His spirit still does what it does. And he's very important. Angelic like being still in the world today doing what he does, and maybe in his life he earned the position of an angel or God or something like that, and he looks out for the people that I guess maybe he selects, or divine people, or hip hop people, or I don't know, maybe even people that he just relates to or something. Like for me, I'm a Gemini. Tupac's birthday is a day after mine. I'm the 15th. He's the 16th. So I don't know. I mean, whatever it is, it's still doing its thing. And when you listen to his music, that's the activation that happens. It's very special, man. Very special.